Okay, I'm back here. And while I was away, we have two new guests coming in. And we have at least the Harlem family and the whole city and state and almost country family of of Anthony. Anthony, I like your name. No. Do they call you Tony Anthony?
No, they normally call me Anthony.
They you normally call you Anthony. Well,
Or Ant.
okay. And then we have the CO is the COO. And thank you, Carlos. Even though I remember Carlos. Matter of fact, I met your sister. I went on a tour with of Jennifer, and what we're talking about is the family of Rapid Realty, which is, as I indicated in the article, a success story in the making because it's really a very interesting story. I ran into to Anthony and Carlos at a 1209 event, maybe about a month or so ago, and my buddies, and you know them, Henry and and the whole group kind of said to me, you really need to know Anthony. He has a interesting story, and you need to talk to him about it. So I said, okay, Henry and Frank, who backed him up, and I always kind of listened to those guys, and then I heard him speak. And then I went to the website. What's that website that has the story on it?
The AnthonyLolli.com.
Okay, the Anthony Lolli, and that's AnthonyLolli.com, which has a very interesting story about how this whole thing developed. And we probably won't have time to go through all of it, but we're going to have them back again. But the short version of it is that this young man has created an entity that has revolutionized, in a sense, the whole issue of sale in real estate or rentals in real estate, and is probably one of the fastest growing companies in the country. I think you have 53 offices now.
54.
54 offices, and there's a Harlem office, and I had the pleasure of meeting Jennifer, which I always tell Jennifer, her personality is probably why we're here, because I was in Brooklyn, and I'm not a Brooklyn guy, and I was late, and I don't say, oh boy, I don't know what's going to happen when I see her, but everybody there was smiling and happy, and I know that I had taken a lot of their time, and I was impressed with some of the things that Jennifer was telling me, and then I write a little bit about that, and she'll have a chance to talk, but she's overcome a lot. And then I met Clark, who's a quiet guy, but then you can't be too quiet because he owned 3 bars, so I know he had to understand a lot of the stuff. And anyway, the whole idea here is that there is a really interesting story on real estate rentals, and I think that you're going to hear, matter of fact, I know a lot more about the Rapid Realty brand, and this will be the first of many conversations that we will have, because I think that the story should be told. So you guys can tell, Anthony, why don't you kind of start up and give a little background on how you got to where you are now, and then of course we want to talk to Clark and Jennifer, because we want to make sure that the Harlem office is in the house. And Carlos, you're the person
I'll
who's
be the
always
color
there.
commentator.
So Anthony, why don't you go ahead?
Well, it's an interesting story. It's a story about ambition and drive and determination. And I started very young. I started at 19. I started in real estate. And I just took a liking to it. I took a real estate class, and it just took off from there. From starting a real estate school and gifting it to my parents, to learning about construction and eventually buying real estate, to starting my own real estate company, Rapid Realty, and then now franchising it. It's been an amazing endeavor. We literally grew from 1 location to 54 locations in 27 months, and it's been a fantastic journey, getting to meet business owners like Clark, like Jennifer, and bringing them into the family. And we really work together as a unit, And it's really exciting because not only do we get to duplicate our own success, but we offer opportunities for people to come and work at the company, and really, the person can go from zero to hero overnight. And there's no real estate company that's been able to quantify what's going on in the rental market right now. Everything has gone rentals. There's no more predatory lending. So, but there's still a need for housing, and there hasn't been a realtor out there that's been facilitating that need until Rapid Realty. So, but our strategy was kind of low key. We practiced an anonymity approach to our growth. We really didn't publicize it. We only celebrated amongst ourselves. And when I tell you we celebrated it, we really celebrate. I mean, from having back-to-back grand openings with 300, 400, 500 people showing up there, ribbon cutting ceremonies to just events. We're really like one big family, and everyone's connected in one way, shape, or form. And your calendar's booked either from going to somebody's baby shower to someone celebrating a successful deal that they just closed to an anniversary of an office that's been open. But yeah, I mean, I've had real estate in my blood now for 15 years. I'm a son of a school teacher and a housewife. And I came from very humble beginnings. And as you mentioned before on my website, I talk about those humble beginnings. And what's interesting about that is that on the website, I also talk about some of the success stories within the organization, like Clark and Jennifer. And I feature their bios prominently on the website because a lot of people can relate to someone wanting to become successful in New York. And success breeds success. It's like The Secret, right? The power of positive thinking. So birds of the same feather fly together, and I just have this innate ability to attract the right type of people within my infrastructure, and they duplicate that by attracting the right quality individuals.
Well, from what I've been able to see, it is something that falls in line. Many of you who read my article, I sometimes talk about the mastermind organization, which Napoleon Hill talked about in his famous book, Think and Grow Rich. And what that is that, if you have a battery, you can get energy. But if you have a number of batteries together, the energy becomes greater. Actually, the energy creates a whole different type of a spiritual mind contact. And when I was listening to what you guys were doing, it really kind of fell in line with that concept, even to the point where you can go to any office and learn about wherever all of the 53 locations, and some of them now I understand them coming up in Atlanta and outside. And so if where you live or where you work, you can go in and you can find out all of the information that you need to know about what the possibilities are in any of the locations, which is a interesting thing. And one of the things I was talking to Anthony, and I said, the architecture is really good. Who do you do? How did you get that done? He said, I did that myself. I was doing some of that myself. Google, you learn about these things, and I said, okay, it remind me of Prince. People used to hate Prince because I can play that, I can play this, I can play that. And they said, well, wait a minute, you got to get somebody something to do. But I think that it is a really interesting story. Now, Jennifer, I'm going to have to put you on the spot because Jennifer has this personality, and she's been through a number of things which could create, as they say, if it doesn't kill you, it makes you stronger. But Jennifer, give us a little information about you and what your future, as you see it, is with Rapid Realty.
My future with Rapid, I feel, is unlimited. That's how I feel about my relationship with my partner, with my company, with Anthony, with Carlos. It's just unlimited. The potential is unlimited. I came back to the area last summer after going through 3.5 years of basic back-to-back substantial knockdowns, basically. I lost my husband in '08 in a motorcycle accident. My daughter left for college the following year, and then I was diagnosed with cancer in 2010 and spent 2011 basically battling cancer and beating it. And then I went back to work only to find that I lost my job. So it was a lot to go through in 3.5 years, but every day I always thought, if I get up the next day, there's the possibility of something good happening. And I ran into a friend over last summer that owned the Midtown West office, and she was like, oh, you should come to New York. What are you doing? Da, da, da. I packed up my things and came, and I spent the time that I was in school getting my real estate license in New York, basically back and forth. So in the 2 weeks that I was in school, I was actually in between Maryland and New York. And then when I came, she was just like, I think this is for you. And I was like, yeah, I believe it's for me. This is my chance. This is my opportunity. I said I wouldn't work for anyone else ever again. And she said, I want you to meet Anthony. Went to meet Anthony. And we started talking about possibilities. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to own my own. And he said, what do you have? And I told him, and he was talking about different possibilities. He was like, well, let me get Carlos. And we talked to Carlos, and we got in the car and came up to Harlem, and the rest is
Went to
history.
IHOP.
We went to IHOP
Had
and
a
had our
quick
first
meeting with
meeting
Clark.
at
Yeah, yeah.
IHOP.
And Clark, how did you make the transition from owning a series of bars which is, I guess, real estate too, but going into, you're the broker at the Harlem branch, and tell us about that. A Queens guy too.
Yes, from Queens, and that's where I had the different bars and different social clubs that I had, and basically living that nightlife and things of that nature. It does grow and wear on you
After a while.
After a while, it's just a lot of different things that as you get older, maybe you don't want to deal with anymore. And I just came to that crossroad in my life, and I thought to myself, what can I do with all my energy and all my heart, like I did with my other businesses, where I could make a lot of money at doing it. If I put the same amount of time and energy into something else, maybe I could, get that $1 million dream that I have, $1 billion dream that I have, $1 trillion dream that I have. Maybe I could get that. And just so happens that I sat with my aunt and spoke to her, and she asked me about if I ever thought about real estate, and and I have. Most of the people on the Forbes list, the top people, they're dealing with real estate, and I really was very intrigued with it. And she just happened to tell me that a friend of hers, son, got their real estate license for free with Rapid Realty. Basically, Rapid Realty sponsored them to go to real estate school, and then sponsored them to put their license underneath them and work for them. So that's the road I took. I went down there. I called first, of course, set an appointment. Went there in Brooklyn, the original office in Park Slope South, and I fell in love. I fell in love with everything, just the whole setup and the look, and the fact that they were sponsoring me. I like that a lot, because if you're not sure sometimes, and people give you a branch to hold on to, you take it. And I did, and
The rest is history.
the
Yeah.
rest is history.
Carlos.
So, what's more interesting that he's not saying is he came on board before we became this big empire of offices. It's a lot easier to jump on the bandwagon after you've already seen success, after the blueprint was laid. The only blueprint we had at the time was our corporate headquarters office, which he worked out of. But he really liked the brand early on in the process. He was one of our very first franchisees. And in fact, right now at this point, he's one of our senior guys. He's one of our, what we call an advisory council member, which is a group of 12 elite franchisees. So he's not giving himself enough credit. He held down the Harlem territory, the Manhattan territory entirely for a whole year before we had any other office in the city. Now we have 7 and we have 54 throughout, but he was one of our first 5 that actually opened up. And so he believed in the concept early on, and he put his all into it, from learning the real estate business from scratch to now brokering and managing an office full of agents. He's seen his share of turnover, so he's managed at this point hundreds of agents that have walked through his doors, and he's really a pioneer in the business for us. So,
And Carlos, give us a little information about how you kind of got into this family.
So I came into this because about 6 years ago, my sister, my older sister, got involved in the business. She worked for the school that Anthony helped his parents start. She was a real estate instructor at the school. She became friendly with Anthony altogether, and it became a situation where she started recruiting me on his behalf. She's told him, listen, I have a little brother who would be good for this business, and I think you should meet him. And I started talking to Anthony, and during that process, he recruited my other sister, my oldest sister. And now I have two sisters in the company. They were both telling me how great the company is. And I say, okay, well, let me go check this out. I go check out the operation. I remember there was just one office, but I went there, it was like 9:30 at night. I expected them to open the gates and turn the lights on, because what office is typically open at that hour? But that wasn't the case. What happened was I went in there, it was vibrant. Things were happening. I was like already impressed, because I don't know what typical office type business would be open at such a late hour and be bustling with customers. And so when I saw that, and Anthony gave me the grand tour, which was just of one floor because that's all we had, I was kind of drawn to him. And to sum it up, basically what happened was, it took me a few. It was like Chinese water torture. Anthony kept trying to recruit me because he would go to my sister's house and have dinner with my parents and everything. He became friends with them. I happened to have a place next to where my mom used to live, and I would come over and talk to him, and he'd somehow, some way, he'd psychologically impact me about why I should quit my job. At the time, I was in retail management, and I liked doing what I was doing, but I didn't think it was a practical decision for me to just jump ship, leave what I had going, and I was growing within that company. And I just said, you know what? I don't know that if it's the right move right now. But eventually, a few months later, I said, something about him. I said, even though there was no idea of franchising or expanding outward, I just felt like this company could blow up and this guy could go somewhere. And I said, the last thing I want to do is wait a few years down the road, see that the company grew tremendously, and then look back and say, man, I had an opportunity to be there early on and make my dent, and I didn't do it. I passed it up, and then have to start from scratch at that point. So from one day to the next, I quit my job and said, I'm going to try this. I'm going to put the blinders on.
Took the leap of faith.
And I said, I'm not going to look back. And what I did, I said, look, worst case scenario, I can make my mistakes fast. If it doesn't work, I'll quit and go right back to where I was. I have a good standing in the company that I'm in. It just happened to work, and haven't looked back since.
Well, I again, and it's something that you said that I've heard a couple of times about Anthony, is there's something about that guy that tends to, attract you. And Frank and Henry from 1209, they were saying the same thing. And then after meeting him, I kind of understood that. But the important thing for me is that you can always tell about a leader by the people who are around him. And again, with Jennifer and Clark and some of the people that I was able to meet, they were kind enough to give me a tour of some of the offices, which they all are, really nice places. But I think that the important thing that I want to talk about, besides what they're doing, is what the possibilities are, especially for people who are in professional jobs that I was just reading about all of the PhDs that are unemployed now, but there are a lot of different opportunities. And Anthony made a quote that I wrote about in an article that that will be coming out soon, about his view of the success, and that was that you were able to create a great deal of jobs and career opportunities for people who were looking for things. And it's really important to understand, one, that there's a school here and there's ability to get tuition paid, but there's a kind of a cookie cutter type of structure. It reminds me, in the sense, we're talking about franchises like McDonald's. They have their own way of doing things, and they have the school that you really just have to have the desire. And people are always. I had a person call me today from Chicago, I think, who said, I'm looking for an apartment. I said, I got somebody for you. So people are looking for rentals. So it's a very interesting concept. What's the future? I mean, you guys I know you're looking. Matter of fact, before you answer this, I want to give a quote that I also thought was great, which may not be the whole future, but is one of the things that was in the mind of Anthony, and I thought was interesting. He said, if you go to a different city as a visitor, you and you want to rent a car, you go to Hertz or Avis or one of those things. What Rapid will be is that when you go to a city and you want a place to look to rent, you go to Rapid. It'll be a kind of a brand franchise in all the different places. Now I know that that's part of it, but what's the overall view, Anthony, that you have?
Well, I think that's a main part of the view. We want to see the brand extend everywhere, and we want to offer employment opportunities across the nation, and then eventually globally. You know, we want to be sitting in France, maybe doing a show like this, you know, talking about.
Yeah, well,
rapid,
remember
you know.
me. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I've been consulted.
I think part of what attracts people to our company is that our assembly line process, the way we do business, we break it down into small, different tasks. You know, a person can come in and they may not know much about sales or rentals, and we'll put them in a rental agent position where they're just a showing agent. All they do is show apartments with customers. It's not that difficult, and they get to learn the terrain. They get to learn the ins and outs of New York City from the inside, you know, and they get to rub elbows with successful entrepreneurs, multi-unit landlords, management companies. That's really how I started my career in development and buying real estate, just by rubbing elbows and getting listings and being able to shake hands a couple times a month on a lease signing with a landlord. And I'll just ask him, hey, how'd you do this? How'd you end up owning the whole block? Can you please teach me? So you get enough of those people in your network, and as they say, your network is your net worth, really. And really, if you're not good and you're not social, maybe you want to become a processor. We have an administration position where you just wait for the baton to come to you, and the showing agent hands you the deal, and then you're the liaison. You're handling all the paperwork. You're communicating with the landlord or the management company and working with the customers and getting them approved. We really fight hard to get our tenants approved, and the way we structure things, it's more attractive and more appealing to a landlord or a management company because it's more fast-paced, you know. And then we have our closing agent position, and then of course we have the franchise owner position. So there's so many different things. There's a whole gamut where you can choose. So if you don't like one, you can choose another, and then eventually grow and maybe do them all.
Now, one of the things, and we'll repeat this again because I'm sure people are wondering at this point, how do people get in contact with you guys? Well, of course, we're going to talk about the Harlem office and the things that are there, because each office is kind of like a recruitment location too. If you go in, you can get information about how to get involved and the like. But give us some of the general email. Give us the Harlem office and other places that people can contact you.
Well, the main thing is our website, right? We have the rapidnyc.com, and then if you go on there and you click on the careers tabs or the job tabs, you'll be able to learn all about it. We have over 250 videos on our website. We have several YouTube channels. It's all interlinked. But if you want to get inspired, you go to the AnthonyLolli.com to read the stories, especially Clark and Jennifer. I know they have a direct line and a direct email to the Harlem Careers. And what is that, Jen? What's your Clark?
It's Manhattan Careers.
Manhattan
at
Careers.
RapidNYC.com.
And again, based on the wonderful internet, we are talking to people now from around the corner and around the world. Actually, if you're coming into the country and you're looking to do things, this is also a very opportune place to be. So we will repeat the emails again. And Clark, Jennifer, what do you see the future of Harlem? Where would you like to take the Harlem office?
Well, our vision for the Harlem office is for anyone in Harlem or seeking to be in Harlem, that we would be the place that they think of when they think about Harlem real estate, be it sales, be it rentals, be it a landlord wanting to fill his building. We would like to be that person that they think of when there's a vacancy or that someone needs an apartment. We'd like to be the source for those people who don't know or have an idea of what they want to do with themselves. Let this be an opportunity for them, that they come in and say, oh, I'd like to try this out. Let me see how this works. I have the drive to succeed, and I want to do this myself, and I want to do it with you. So.
And correct me, but would anyone who is looking to rent or sell or what have you, if they list themselves with the inventory of Rapid, that means that's all over the place. So wherever people are
800 eyeballs right now.
Yeah.
We'll be looking
and
at
growing.
And
Actually, what's interesting about the future for the Harlem office, in particular, these guys who own it and run it, is that we're I don't know if they mentioned this, but we're doing a reality show based on the company right now that's in production, and they're finalists for the casting. So it looks like they're 99% sure to be one of the offices one of 3 offices that's featured on the show.
That's
So
great.
when we
Which
when
makes a lot of sense.
so now it really will be Harlem World because it's
Harlem
gonna be on
World.
a it's gonna be on a national platform and potentially international, assuming the show's a hit, which we expect it to be.
Well, there's a whole host of questions with that as to how that is going to work, but that will be a very interesting an opportunity, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I know with the things that are going on, as you know, you've gone to a couple of the events that the chamber has given, the Greater Harlem Chamber, about the different things that are taking place. So, the timing is great. So, and Harlem Week is coming up. So if you guys, that gives you a whole nother arena to go into. So that's great. We're getting ready to wind down, even though, as I had mentioned before, you start hearing a lot more about Rapid Realty on WHCR, and as well as the Harlem News Group and many of the other entities that they are involved with. But I would like for each one of you just to give, a short statement as to what you would like to leave the listeners with as it relates to you and your business. And Anthony, you'll be last.
Well, I'll start with just to piggyback off of what Jennifer was talking about earlier. We do want to be the first stop for anybody that's coming into Harlem or Washington Heights, anything in the Upper Manhattan area. If they're looking for rentals or sales, brownstones, or anything like that, as far as landlords go, filling their buildings, we want to be the first, top on the top of their list when it comes to those things. But second, I just want everybody to know, especially we're here in City College, and we're here in Harlem, that we are hiring every day. You could walk into our office and basically have an interview right away. Our office is at 172 West 130th Street, right off the corner of Adam Clayton Powell Boulevard. And we are hiring, and people that we feel will be assets to our company, we will sponsor them to go to a real estate school.
Mm-hmm. And who knows, there may be a way to have something happening up at City College. We've been talking about that briefly, and that may be something that can come about. So we're expanding in many different ways.
And speaking of we're actually participating in a job fair co-sponsored by City College on June 14th. It's in, I believe it's in
the Great Hall, probably.
Fort Washington, on 4 Washington Avenue. So we will have a booth there. But like Clark said, we're open every day from usually around 8:30, 9 o'clock till 10 o'clock at night. Please feel free to come by, come chat us up. We'd love to have you. We'd love to see different personalities, different energy, and people who want to succeed in their future, and success
people that
is
want to
here.
make money.
People who want to make money.
That's
Which
what
is
we're here for when we're hiring. We're looking for superstar agents, not just for the reality show.
No, not just
but
for that.
just for business in general.
Carlos?
Well, I want to say just two quick things. One is, we're a company that tries to make everyone around us successful. So, part of Anthony's culture that he's built is the people that are around him that work for him or have worked in the company one way or another. He tries to touch them in a way, and sometimes he wants more out of them and expects more out of them than they expect out of themselves, and he pulls the best out of people. And I think that it's the same type of culture as what you'll find at the Harlem office and really at any of our offices. But Harlem is such a hot brand, and it's so everybody loves Harlem right now, and we're excited about all the things that are happening up there, and we hope to be able to show that on this show. And I think if there was one thing that made us different, because people do rentals, other companies do rentals, we were pretty steadfast in really just sticking to the rental thing, and that's our niche. But what I want to say is the culture of the company is what makes the company different. And I think we built such a culture where we made real estate fun, and we made people want to do real estate and do it as a career, not just make it a stop along their way where they tried it and then it didn't work out. And I think that the big difference between us and most companies that are out there is that we have such a culture and such a family environment, and it all kind of blends in.
And Anthony?
Well, a picture says 1,000 words. We happen to have 5,000 pictures on our Facebook page that really describes what the company's all about. And it's the facebook.com/Rapid Realty. And you'll see thousands and thousands of pictures of brand new agents landing deals that just got licensed, and the next day they're landing a deal, and a couple days later they're celebrating getting their first paycheck. You're part of the reinsurgence of the economy. You're working with a client that's either going to one of the best schools New York City has to offer, or getting married, or getting a new job in New York, or roommating. I mean, it's just a fabulous. And in Harlem altogether, there's so much going on in terms of development, rentals, and new boutique stores popping up everywhere. And we also do commercial, which is something interesting. We practice both ends of the spectrum, where we're showing a commercial space, and the next thing you know, we're there celebrating and having lunch at the brand new restaurant that we help facilitate. So it's stuff like that you get to be a part of. Plus, you inherit all the leadership. Not just myself, but all the franchise owners, the store managers, the superstar agents that really changed their life around. And it's well documented online, and we encourage everyone to at least check it out. At least give yourself a shot to be successful.
So in ending, again, give us the phone numbers and the website.
Our office number is 646-360-4951. That's our direct office line, and I'll give out my cell phone number. I don't mind. I talk to so many people, be it apartment, be it a job. Call me, 240-425-2995, and my email is jjones@rapidnyc.com.
And the general email, the general website?
The general website is rapidnyc.com, rapidnyc.com.
Well, you've heard it. You'll hear a lot more, but I was impressed with what I was able to see and what I'm beginning to see, and I know that it sounds great and takes a lot of work and effort. But again, you guys keep up the work, and I'm sure that you'll be back. And thank you for coming out and
Thank
talking
you.
Thank you
with
so
us.
much.
having us.
Our pleasure.
That's great. We're talking again to the family of Rapid Realty, and pick up the Harlem News. Actually, my article will probably be in many of them, I believe. I'm not sure how they're going to do that this week, but definitely the Harlem News, or online, the HarlemNewsGroup.com, to find out a little bit more information about it. And I look forward to seeing you guys on TV soon. Well, thanks again. This is Tony Rogers, your host for Urbanology, the Art of War, signing off. I see Kimberly getting her music together. We will be back next week with the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce show, which is usually on the last Tuesday of the month. And hopefully we will see you.